award-winning Tennessee Wildcast is on the air with the latest on hunting, fishing, boating, wildlife watching, and all things outdoors. Make welcome your host, drummer and outdoor expert novice, Jason Harmon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee Wildcast. We're glad you're tuning in. Thanks for coming back. Thanks for watching out there. Thanks for listening if you're on the radio or tuning into our podcast. We appreciate you doing that. Got a fun show for you today. We're talking fishing with our favorite fisherman.
Jason Holland is back in the house.
Hey, thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Fine introduction.
What do you think about that favorite fisherman?
Favorite fisherman. Well, it's better than being your unfavorite fisherman, I suppose.
Well, you have the Faith family and fishing.
Yes, sir.
I like that.
The favorite fisherman of Faith family and fishing.
There we go.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of F's going on in there.
Yeah.
It's a good kind of.
It is a good family show. Todd, keep it a family show.
It
will
is a
you?
family show.
Good night.
A lot going on today. We'll jump into what we're going to talk about soon, but I wanted to highlight the raffle. The raffle is going on.
Yes, sir.
So hang with me here. Let me pull it up. If you're watching on the screen, there you go. The TWRF Conservation Raffle is underway. You've got 55 days from this recording day. It's probably going to be a few less days when you hear about it.
That's right.
But 10 prizes with additional 100 chances on some other things. So get your tickets. 10 for 100, 3 for 50, or 1 ticket for $20. The big prize this year is $50,000 voucher toward a Ford vehicle.
I mean, 50 grand
Yep.
Man,
for 20 bucks. I mean, I'm not real good at math, but
that's a pretty darn good deal.
I feel like that's a pretty nice, a nice little opportunity to get in there. And I have not bought my tickets yet. I'll raise my hand that I am going to be buying my tickets.
All right, good.
Very soon. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
A lot of great prizes this year. That being the big ticket item there. And then we've got a tracker boat from Bass Pro. We've got the elk hunt that started it all. The raffle kind of was birthed from the elk hunt and opportunities there. The UTV package is there from Bass Pro. President's Island deer hunt. A lot of stuff you saw last year is coming back. The Final Flight waterfowl hunt package for you and your friends. $5,000 at Academy, which is great for buying fishing gear.
Yes, absolutely.
The turkey hunt with the Governor's One Shot. That's going to be with Preston Pittman again this
guided
year.
hunt and all the paraphernalia that goes along with it.
Yeah, that little seat, the pack rabbit there. I mean, if I just get one of those, I'd be happy. Those are nice. Best of the West long range shooting package. So that's a hot deal there. And then the Henry gun. So it's a lot of cool stuff.
Man, I love that Henry gun.
Yeah. Got the Foundation logo on one side and the TriStar on the other, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I'm going to need you to go ahead and line that up, if you don't mind.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and give you my ticket numbers so we can I don't need to win every one of those packages, but if I could get 5, that doesn't seem like that's too
Just
much.
5 packages?
Just 5 of them. I just
Okay.
need 5 of those packages.
What about 5 of the 100 additional prizes in the knives? I'll get you 5 knives.
I got yeah, like we talked about before the show started, I don't ever win, ever.
Yeah.
In a drawing. So if I win, if I literally just get a piece of mail back saying thank you, that will be more than I've ever won. So
That'll be a win right there.
I'm not overly picky.
And you know the thing with this raffle is you buy the $100 thing where you get 10 tickets.
Yeah.
You could potentially win more than one of these. That's just crazy. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
it doesn't disqualify you if you win. You get drawn the first time.
Right.
So,
You buy 10 tickets, there's 10 in the pot.
yeah, there's a chance. But anyway, there's some really good stuff on there. And twrf.net is the website, right, Jason?
Yep. Raffle.twrf.net.
Yeah, so I'm gonna need the truck and the tracker boat. We'll start there.
Well, that's a good package.
Yeah.
You know,
I
if you
mean-
could win those two.
Yeah.
I mean, it pretty much just wraps up everything we're going to talk about today.
I'm sure the truck's got a hitch.
I would hope
good.
so. If not, we'll put one on it.
Yeah.
Scrounge up some pennies and
Pretty
put one on
sure.
it. Okay.
Yeah, we'll call in some buddies. We'll go in together and put a hitch on it.
Oh, well, we're excited about that, and we're going to keep promoting it and let y'all know about it, but there's still time, so get out there and get you a ticket.
And I noticed it does have a countdown clock. So when you go visit the website, it'll give you the number of days left on the time. So
Exactly.
So there you go.
That'd be pretty fun.
Yeah.
I got my fingers crossed, my toes crossed.
Hey, I'm rooting for you.
All right, well, guess what? Me too. I'm rooting for me really, really hard on this deal.
Oh, I need to buy me some tickets, too. Maybe you could buy me a few.
I will buy. Yeah. Does it disqualify you?
Hey, you could give it to somebody.
Yeah. I mean, why not?
Yeah, that's right.
I will share.
Okay.
So if I win all 10, I will share one with you.
Yeah, awesome. That
Seems like
good.
a fair trade. I'm that kind of guy.
Well, what are we talking about today? We got a lot of stuff here in front of you, and I'm kind of surprising me today because we hadn't really discussed what the flow of the show is going to be. You mentioned offshore, and it makes me think of ocean, but this is offshore inland fishing, I guess, or lake fishing.
Offshore freshwater fishing.
Freshwater, okay.
Yeah, and again, offshore ledge fishing. There's a lot of different terms. I use offshore. Anything that I'm not directly throwing at the bank.
Okay.
And I'm fishing something that doesn't have a visual representation above the water, offshore. And when I say offshore, most of the time that's going to be on some type of drop, a ledge, a hump, a saddle. There's a million different terminologies.
Right.
But just basically something underneath the water that you can't see that bass will gravitate to this time of year. So right now, summertime, exactly when this is going to air, but we'll just say summertime. It's hot. And so the misconception is every single bass in the system goes offshore or leaves the bank and goes out. It's not the case. There's always resident fish no matter where you're at. So for your bank fishermen, don't get discouraged. There's still fish up shallow that you can, still fish from the bank and still catch some. You can, honestly, more likely to catch panfish this time of year shallow opposed to bass. But you still can. Not every single bass. But and when we're fishing, we're always trying to find the largest concentration of fish on the body of water. This time of year, when the water temp is up in the high 80s, low 90s, it's hot, dog days of summer, they're going to go out deep.
Right.
Only reason they go out deep is there's really two things that they're always looking for. One, just like the rest of us, they're always looking for food. They got to eat, and they're going to follow where the bait goes. And this time of year, the shad, or the large population of shad, will gang up in balls, and they will go and they'll suspend, typically around the thermocline. All the thermocline is you got colder water and you got hotter water, and they're somewhere in the middle where those meet. And that's usually the most oxygenated water in the system this time of year. And so the bait will typically hang around that thermocline. Well, whenever there's bait, there's always going to be the predatorial fish, in this case, obviously the bass, and they're going to follow those out there. Bait's number one, and then really, like I just said, it's the oxygen. The cooler water, the more oxygenated water, where they can go and be the most comfortable. And that's this time of year, they're going to go out. And offshore can be a relative term, or ledge fishing can be a relative term, meaning it could be a creek channel ledge. So you got a big creek, and then you have what the old creek bed that used to go through there. That's you have a drop there, so it's shallower and it drops off to deeper water. Or a lot of especially here in Tennessee, Alabama, Kentucky. I mean, you got the TVA chain of lakes, which is obviously used for power generation, and they have a very deep channel for the barges. And so those bass will go and they will suspend. The bait will suspend off, and then the bass will come. The other thing that really drives that is current flow. Current flow, such as a Highland Reservoir, doesn't really matter. You take a Tim's Ford, a Dale Hollow, Center Hill. That current is not necessarily as much of a prediction where the bass will be, opposed to a Kentucky Lake, a Nickajack, Chickamauga, any of those. That generation, as they're again summertime. So the power needs go up because everybody's got their air conditioning cranked down,
right? And
power needs spike, and so to generate more electricity, they pull more water through the system, through the turbines, wherever you're from, how do you want to say it. It's going to create more electricity, and so you get a lot of current flow. Current flow in offshore fishing, that's really where we're going to spend the time today. We don't have near enough time to go through the nuances of non-current generation lakes fishing offshore, so we're going to focus really on. We're going to talk mainly Kentucky Lake. In this area, most fishermen know it, but Kentucky Lake, it's kind of in a low time the last couple of years, a lot of different reasons, but so far this year, it's kind of on the uptick. But lakes ebb and flow from how good fishing are, and what happened, it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy because a lake will get hot. Chickamauga, for example. Chickamauga got super hot. Everybody started going there. Everybody wanted to go catch this record fish, and what happened is, right now, it's kind of crusted and it's starting to come down a little bit just because it's getting overfished. There's a tournament almost every day on that lake, every weekend, unless it's super cold, there's a tournament going on. And so what happens is it's the old saying of high markets fix high markets and low markets fix low markets. Same thing in bass fishing. When the lake gets hot, all the fishermen go there, and it's good for a couple of years, and eventually it starts going to decline because it's getting a lot of pressure. Gunnersville, which is right across the border in Alabama for us here in Nashville, has been one of the hottest, greatest lakes in the entire country for years, but it ebbs and flows. Right now, Kentucky Lake is on its way back up. But Kentucky Lake is literally world-renowned in bass fishing for the offshore ledges. Everybody comes to Kentucky Lake from across the country and from around the world to fish the offshore ledges of Kentucky Lake, starting basically in the middle of May, and will run through August, depending on weather conditions and a lot of things. But it's so good. You literally can go out and you can catch a fish, a bass, offshore on every cast for a long period of time. The most I've ever had personally is I've had 14 casts with 14 keepers,
Wow.
which is incredible. I mean, a lot of times you'll go fishing all day, and if you catch 14 bass in total, it's a great day, much less 14
Right.
keepers. And so that's just, they're all ganged up, and you get them fired up, and so it's a lot of fun. It's still hot. Kentucky Lake is still good. Those offshore areas are still good, but what's happened is because of the Asian carp, it has repositioned those fish. So a place that I used to go to every single year, and I knew, hey, when I got here this time of year, I was going to have the greatest day ever. The bass have been replaced on those places with Asian carp, but the bass are still there. They just repositioned. So a lot of times you'll read the forums, and a lot of bass fishermen are complaining about how bad Kentucky Lake has been. It's not true. It's just they can't go do what they've always done. And getting the Asian carp have repositioned them.
Got to work a little bit.
You do. You got to get out. And you got to get on your electronics, and this is really where your skill comes in, because you can't go back to that same horseshoe right outside of Leatherwood and catch them all day. It's hot. I mean, it's the most biggest community hole on a lake, and there's been more tournaments there, more fish caught there than probably at least in that Paris Landing area. That's where everybody goes. It's incredible, and I've caught literally thousands of fish in a 150-yard stretch. They're not there anymore. You can go look and you see on the graph, and it's the Asian carp have moved up there. So those bass have actually repositioned into the same type of area. They just moved back to a secondary ledge. So anyway, we're getting off subject, but we're going to focus on Kentucky Lake. We'll talk on offshore fishing. That is really the whole concept of what we're going to talk about today. That's the pretext of what we're talking about.
Well, Don and I went fishing with Mike Parsley and Ian Huey, and we caught some striper.
Yeah.
On ledges, and we were putting out a video and trying to shoot some stuff, and we caught a few fish. So that was fun to watch that happen and even participate in it. I mean, y'all did a video or did a virtual class not too long ago, and that's on our YouTube page, so folks can go see that.
Yes.
And learn more about this as well. But stay tuned, because here we go.
Yeah. So again, pretext is when I talk ledges, we're talking a river ledge, where it could be anywhere from, let's just say 8 to 10 foot, maybe 6 to 10 foot on top. So a shallower area that's going to think of a pool. You got the shallow end and how it tapers down to a deep end.
Yeah.
There is a good mental context when I say a drop or a ledge. It's just a shallower part that's going to kind of just tilt off and go down. Or I like to use the analogy, think of a ditch. You get a backhoe and you make yourself a 3-foot ditch in your backyard. You got your grass where it was, and then it just drops off into your ditch that you just dug. Same concept.
That's a ledge.
Yeah, that's all. When I say ledge or drop, that's what I'm referring to.
Right.
Flatter on top, drops off. And bass, well, again, think about as it comes across and it's flat and then it begins to drop off, the shad will ball up and they will suspend right over that where it starts to crest over and you start to head down. They will suspend over there. And the bass will then go down, they'll be on the bottom, and they will be sitting there on that edge. Where current becomes a real big player in the whole process, the current will position the fish. So if there's not much current, they don't have to be just sucked to the bottom. They're not looking for a current break. They will kind of float up a little bit, and they'll be suspended off the bottom a little bit. And all that they're doing is that shad is up there, and they will get together in a school and think of what you've seen on ocean, like videos of the ocean.
Finding Nemo.
Well, you can look at Nemo, not necessarily reference I was looking to.
Oh, sorry.
But what I'm talking about is you'll see the school of whatever predatory fish will start just busting all over this bait ball. Same concept with bass, just obviously scale everything down. Current will then come into play where if it's a lot of current, they will have to get down lower and they'll have to get behind either a rock or something, a current seam, somewhere where they're not sitting there just fighting the current. Because they're much like me. I want to sit in a chair and be as lazy as I possibly can while I'm eating dinner, right? I don't want to be running a marathon while eating dinner. Same concept. They want to be with the current break where they can sit, they can be comfortable, they can wait till the bait gets positioned right, and then they can go up there and get the easiest possible meal they can. So current will position those fish. Right now, everything that I have on this table we're going to talk about is when that current is flowing and when they are on the bottom.
Okay.
Right? And that's because this is such an in-depth conversation, it can go literally for hours. I got to try to package it down so we can at least talk on one specific thing. So we're talking about Kentucky Lake ledges when current is moving. All right? And these are the kind of baits that you're going to do. So at the beginning of the year, the beginning of the offshore or ledge fishing season, which typically, depending on weather, is going to be in that late May, early June. When it gets hot, temperature starts to rise, and a lot of the bass from the creek start making their way and migrating out to where they're going to spend most of the summer, cooler water. When that happens, they are much more aggressive. So you can take bait such as this. This is a deep diving crankbait. If you look at some of our other shows, we talked about how you would know that, and that's bill size, the width as well as the length tells you how deep that bait's going to dive. Obviously, for guys that are watching, you can see this has a bill that's probably, I don't know, 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches long. Deep diving crankbait. These things are going to go depending on how long your cast is, what size line you have. Personally, I like to use a rod that's anywhere 7.6 to 7 foot 8 inches long. I want to bomb it, even sometimes up to a 7.10. I want to get out as far as I possibly can because the further I get it, the deeper this crankbait's going to dive. Right? It's got more distance to keep digging and digging. If I didn't make a real short cast, he's going to go down and come right back up. The further a cast I can make, so I use that rod. I will use a slow gear ratio reel. So I'll use cast and fishing rod that's 7.6 to 7.10, and then I will use a Lew's Tournament MB reel that's a low gear ratio. This is key. You want like a 5.3 to 1. Again, we're getting specific. Use whatever you got. Start there, but we're getting to the little bit more specifics. I want to use a lower gear ratio reel, like a 5.3 to 1. Very slow, because what happens is, one, I need a lot of torque. This thing weighs about an ounce and a quarter, so it's a big bait. And when I say I'm reeling it and I'm getting it.
Yeah, you're just driving it through the water.
I'm plowing it through. Because what I want this bait to hit that bottom where those bass are at. And this bait is going to dig. And it's going to hop, and it's going to roll, and it's going to make all kinds of commotion because I'm trying to trigger that feeding instinct in their brain. Called triggering a fish, reaction bite, a lot of different terms. But he's sitting down there, everything's all good, and all of a sudden this bait just comes plowing right by their face. It's flashing, it's rolling. And so the predatory instinct kicks in, and they go out and grab it.
Yeah.
Well, because it's deep, it's a big bait, and I'm grinding the coffee. You want to go a lower gear ratio reel. Because if you have a real fast reel, one, you're going to have a lot more speed than you really need. And then number two is it's going to work the fire out of you because you are moving so much line. I want this thing to get down there, and I want it to hunt, and I want it to dig. And so a slower gear ratio reel is going to make that much easier on the angler because when you throw it, I'm going to be throwing it for 8 to 10 hours a day. And I'm winding. And so your elbows and wrists gets to... you'll know you did it.
When you say it's down there and it's grinding, are you in the bottom of that ditch? Is that where you're driving?
No, I am. So I'm going to throw this on top. It's a great point. So I'm going to throw this on top of that ledge. So I've got a bait that's going to dive. Let's just say we'll use easy math. Let's just say 25 feet.
Okay.
Let's just say 22 feet. 22. So what's going to happen? I'm going to throw this thing up, and I'm going to be reeling it across. It's going to be in 8 foot of water.
Okay.
So if you think about that, this bait is just lit. It's just boom, 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 because it keeps diving straight down because it's designed to go deeper. So what happens? It's on top of that ledge, digging, and then all of a sudden it pops. So you think about it, goes over the hump, over the side. There's a good way, and over the side, and so it's banging, and then it just pops free, and that's typically when your bite's going to happen.
Okay.
Because they're watching it comes by them. They either grab it when it's up shallow, but you got to think they're sitting right on that crest. That is where they're sitting. And that sucker's going to come right by them and then pop free. Dude, they can't handle it.
Gotcha.
They cannot. It's the greatest bite because they hit it. Again, they're hitting it because they want to kill it. They want to. I mean, they want to hit it hard as they can, and it is a fantastic bite. And a lot of times when they're schooled up, it's nothing to go a day and have multiple two. You'll catch two on one cat. I mean, two on one lure because again, they're schooled up. They're all competitive. They're all fighting for that food, and so also that bait comes through, and when one grabs it, the other one thinks, hey, my buddy's got something I want to eat. And so they'll come over there, and it's many times this time of year you'll catch doubles. It's a blast. Some of the most fun you're ever going to have.
Why are we here? Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, we could probably be there like an hour and a half.
Okay.
So call our wives, hook up the boat, we're out of here.
We're out of here.
But beginning of the offshore season, you can catch them great on a crankbait. What happens over time is they will see 1,000 crankbaits. I mean, in a couple days. And so what happens? They get conditioned. So they're used to seeing that thing coming through, and so they don't react like they do at the beginning when they haven't seen them, since last offshore season. So crankbaits, a couple tips with that, and we are going to run out of time. We may have to do a extended. The next show may have to be on offshore, but you got this is a Spro. It's a deep diver. One of my other personal favorites. This is the Rapala in the DT series, Dives 220. If you can see that, actually has a weight.
Oh yeah, I see.
Molded directly into the bill,
Uh-huh.
and that helps it. Again, it helps it get the distance. One key that I will show you. Remember when I said that they get conditioned to it? So most of these baits have a rattle system in it. You can hear that.
Yeah.
And so that again, it's more noise, it's more attractant. So what happens over time? They hear that 1,000,000 times. And so a lot of times, if I've got a school fired up and they're just crushing that crankbait and all of a sudden they start to die, I will pick up this crankbait.
With no rattle.
And so, again, it's the same commotion. It just loses that. What they're getting conditioned to, it takes one of those off the table. And so you typically can pick up a couple extra bites just by changing up.
They're like, he's trying to sneak by me with no rattle. I'm going to get him.
It's exactly right.
That's for those listening, that's the exact same lure. It just rattle and no rattle.
Yes, sir. It's exactly right. This is the Strike King 6XD. The Strike King 6XD is kind of the staple in offshore or ledge crankbaits. They're really, really good, and that's what a lot of guys fish with. This one for guys that are actually on the video, this is by Patrick Sabille. This is their deep diving crankbait.
I've never seen anything like that.
I know. It's pretty unique. It's got, instead of trebles, for those that are listening and not watching, it actually has a 6/0 hook that pivots.
Off the back, like a tail almost.
Yeah, off the tail. Here's the problem that you run into with these big crankbaits is because you have a crankbait, let's just say is roughly 1 ounce, and you got a treble hook, and he's hitting it wide open, and now he's fighting, thrashing, and you're reeling it back in. So what has a tendency is they will use that weight of the lure kind of as a fulcrum or a pivot point, and when you see them jump, when they jump and they're shaking their head, what they're doing is they're using that weight, and it's popping that hook free. So what they've done here is they've got rid of the small, size 1 or size 2 treble and went to just a big, I think this is a 5/0 hook. What's really good with this is also if you're fishing offshore that has, say, some brush piles or has more things you can get snagged on opposed to just rock or just a shell bed, it's a really good way to do it as well.
Right through there.
All right. How are we on time?
We got about 6-8 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I may.
No, I'm sorry, 3-4 minutes.
Oh well, I better shut up and hurry.
I miscounted.
All right, so we talked crankbaits, really good. A flutter spoon is a great way. Again, I think they're out there feeding up on shad. A spoon is a great way to mimic a bait fish.
And it's not an actual spoon, if you're listening. It is a
it's called a flutter spoon.
flutter spoon.
There you go. So Google. It's got a bend in it, and the back of it is concave.
Yeah.
And so as it falls, it kind of just think of a side to side sachet.
Whoa, sachet.
Ooh,
Really?
Tired of breaking out the big words. Don't edit that out. It makes me look smart.
The emotion you're showing us there, it kind of reminds me of a lightweight leaf just kind of floating down.
Yes, sir, that's exactly
through
right.
the atmosphere.
And what it does is that flash is what gets their attention. We've talked about on the show many times. I like the color red, and so I actually take these and spray paint the.
I see
spray
that.
paint the hook red. I don't know. It makes a difference to me. I feel like I've done something special.
You've caught fish on it. So.
Yeah. So this is a Strike King spoon. Yeah, that's the 5-inch spoon. So here is a.
That's a whopper.
This is a Magnum spoon.
This is my favorite. I want to hear the story.
Yeah.
On this
So a fishing guide and pro fisherman, as well as a big duck hunter out of Reelfoot. His name is Ben Parker. Created this Magnum flutter spoon.
Wow.
It has a 2-aught hook on the bottom. It's got the tinsel, and it is. I think this one is 7 inches. I believe 7 or 8 inches. Same concept as what we just looked at before. It's just an absolute. It's just a Magnum.
Man.
Bigger presentation.
Yeah, and here's the thing of it is, I can't tell you how many 1.5 to 2.5 pound fish I've caught on this thing.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I had old fishermen tell me all the time. He said, "Son, they don't know how far their eyes is from the tail. They have no idea how big they are. They don't care. It's flash. It looks like something to eat, and they'll smack it."
Yeah.
If you haven't fished a spoon offshore, go watch some YouTube videos. It is my personal. This is my favorite way to catch them offshore. I love a crankbait. I love a big jig. But there's something about
I love spoons because I can throw them so far.
No, I can bomb them out there.
Yeah.
I feel like I know what I'm doing when I do that. We won't spend a lot of time on it, but the 3/4 ounce football jig, never go wrong with football jig. You can drag it. You can hop it, and you hop it, you're activating that skirt. Mm-hmm. This time of year, don't have time to go into it, but just Google or go to YouTube, and it's called Stroking a Jig. Watch that. It'll blow your mind. All right, so we're going to hurry. You got big shaky heads, 3/4 ounce shaky heads. You got wobble heads, another great one. It's just a football head that's got kind of a pivot point in it. We talk about it I think every time we're on the show. Tokyo rig. All right, let's hit soft plastics real quick. We didn't hit swim baits.
We have to do another show.
We may have to do another show.
Yeah.
Swim baits, 3/4 ounce head. This is called an underspin. I love the Yum Money Minnow. It's great.
Money Minnow.
Money Minnow. Zoom Old Monster. This is a staple worm offshore. Everybody's heard of the Old Monster. It's a 10-inch worm. Great. Missile Baits Quiver. It's great on the Tokyo rig. And then the D-Bomb from Missile is great on the back of a jig. Or with the one thing we need to bring up, Carolina rig. If you're not getting bit with everything, tie on the old ball and chain. We've done a show on it. Put the ball and chain on, chunk it around. I promise you'll get bit. Thanks for having me. As always, I love being on the show.
Yeah.
Three most important things is your faith, your family, and your fishing. See you guys next time. Check out Jason Holland Fishing.
Wait, what about this right here, though?
Oh.
If you want to fish shallow, you can if you're watching at home.
That is a massive monster. I love how you strategically place that fish.
Yeah.
That thing is a solid 8 inches long, and he looks like a 6-pounder.
It's all about the angler.
You might
Angler. Zinga. How you like that, Todd? Make sure that makes the cut. That's a good one.
Anyway, yeah, so if you want to catch them shallow, out there they are. And if you want to fish ledges, take Jason's advice.
Come on.
And encourage all our listeners to watch the podcast because there's a lot to be seen here, and all the great stuff that Jason's touting here you can see demonstrated.
Yeah. Well, this is Tennessee Wildcast, and hey, we'll see you next time.